Hey ladies, grab a blanket and settle in, because I'm about to take you on a wild ride through my family's secrets, a story that's equal parts heart-wrenching and jaw-dropping. Picture a Christmas morning at my house, the kind that looks like a holiday card but feels like a script with lines I was never given. The living room smells like cinnamon rolls, a little too crispy around the edges because my mom, Margaret, gets lost in her holiday chatter. The fireplace is roaring. My dad, Douglas, insists on it, even though the thermostat's already humming at a cozy 72. And then there's my sister Jenna, 2 years younger, gliding in late with her perfect blowout in pink cashmere sweater, ready to steal the spotlight like it's her birthright. The Christmas tree twinkles in the corner, draped in gold ornaments from when I was a kid, each one chipped and scratched but hanging on like they're keeping quiet about something. In this house, tradition is everything, and nobody questions the cracks. Mom's the star of this scene, rocking her red velvet coat like she's about to walk a red carpet. Her cheeks are rosy, her smile's huge, and she's clutching a tiny gold-wrapped box tied with a satin ribbon, like it's the key to the universe. She hands it to Jenna, her eyes practically glowing. "Open it, sweetheart," she says, voice dripping with pride. Jenna, always the queen of drama, lets out a gasp before she even touches the ribbon like she's been practicing for this moment her whole life. She's been like this since we were kids, living like every day's a casting call. She opens the box slowly, soaking up the attention, and inside is a silver house key nestled in velvet. Jenna squeals, and the room feels like it belongs to her. Dad's grinning like he just pulled off the heist of the century. "We bought her a house," Mom says, her voice trembling like she's announcing a miracle. Jenna throws her arms around them, and it's a picture-perfect moment if you're not paying attention to the edges. I'm there smiling, but it's more reflex than feeling. Mom turns to me, her eyes softening, her voice quieter. "You'll get it one day, Claire," she says, like she's handing me a fortune cookie instead of a gift. But I already get it. My present? A plain envelope, no ribbon, no fuss, just slid across the table by Dad. No big moment, no cheers, just the soft rustle of paper against my jeans. It lands in my lap, heavy with a silence that cuts through the holiday cheer like a knife. I don't open it right away. It sits there, fragile, almost taunting me, a reminder of what's missing, and how hard they try to make that absence feel normal. Dad hands it over with the same energy as passing a takeout menu, no eye contact. No warmth, just a quick, "Here you go." Meanwhile, Jenna's holding her shiny key up to the light, like it's made of stardust instead of favoritism. Mom's dabbing her eyes, gushing about granite countertops and walk-in closets. I glance at my envelope again. No bow, just my name in Mom's fancy handwriting, the kind she perfected on bake sale signs and Christmas tags. I trace the flap with my finger but don't open it. I don't need to. I already know what it means. They've always seen me this way. I was 9 when I baked my own birthday cupcakes, chocolate, too oily, not sweet enough. Mom only helped because Jenna had ballet and didn't want the kitchen smelling like sugar. I came downstairs that morning, heart full of hope, thinking maybe there'd be balloons or a card. But the kitchen was empty. No gifts, no candles, just the smell of burnt toast and Mom humming while she braided Jenna's hair for school. That was the first time I felt it, the weight of being the invisible one, the one who's there but never really seen. But hold on, because this story's about to twist. I wasn't planning to come back home after that Christmas. Guilt, though, has a way of pulling you back, doesn't it? Mom called twice in 1 week, her voice all sugary concern, dropping lines about your father's health and how she can't lift boxes alone anymore. It wasn't the words that got me, it was the tone. That quiet jab that saying no would make me cold, selfish, like I could erase years of being pushed aside by showing up for one favor. So I said yes. I drove 4 hours back to that same driveway Dad keeps trimmed with a ruler, walked into a house that smells like lemon polish, overcooked roast, and something nobody dares name. Jenna wasn't there. "She's busy," Mom sighed like it was somehow my fault. I smiled, nodded, played the part. By Saturday night, we checked off the list. Helped Dad move storage boxes in the garage, listened to Mom vent about her friend's messy divorce, sat through a dinner where every topic circled back to their precious lake house renovations. At 10 p.m. I couldn't sleep. My old bedroom, now the guest room, still had my soccer trophies on the shelf, like relics of a girl who used to belong here. But the walls felt tighter, like they remembered every word I'd swallowed. I wandered barefoot through the house, quiet as a ghost. That's when I saw it, Dad's office door, cracked open. Weird. He guards that room like it's a bank vault. Lights off, blinds down, locked drawers, passwords on everything. But there it was, open just a sliver. Behind a filing cabinet, I spotted a small gray safe, its door slightly ajar. My heart kicked up a notch. I should have shut it and walked away. Assumed it was a mistake. But something pulled me closer, a gut feeling whispering, "What are they hiding? What does Jenna already know?" I knelt down, pulse racing, and opened the safe. Inside were stacks of manila envelopes, each labeled neatly: tax returns, property deeds, bank statements, some familiar, some not. I flipped through them in silence until I found it. A sealed white envelope, marked in Dad's handwriting, "To be opened upon death." My hands froze. Then I opened it. Inside was a will, not the one they'd paraded at Jenna's 21st birthday dinner. The one where everything was split evenly. This was different. My name was first, tied to a property I'd never heard of. First I thought it was a typo. But then I saw the next page, a deed, bought in my name years ago, and a power of attorney with my signature. Except it wasn't mine. The slant was wrong, the curve of the R off. My breath caught. Someone had forged my signature, and the attached bank records showed this wasn't a one-off. My name had been used, shuffled around like a prop in a play I didn't know I was in. I sat there under the hum of Dad's desk lamp, heart pounding, trying to piece it together. They hadn't just hidden things from me, they'd written me into a secret script, one I was never meant to read. That weekend I kept quiet. At breakfast, Mom poured my coffee with her usual fake cheer, asking if I'd found a real job yet, then gushing about Jenna's new lifestyle podcast. Dad barely looked up from his toast. I smiled, nodded, played the role they'd cast me in years ago. By noon I was gone, claiming work duties I didn't even bother inventing. Back home I pulled my credit reports, checked every account in my name, every mark I'd ignored. Here's where it gets wild. The house, my house, was real, bought 6 years ago through a trust tied to my social security number. The address matched the deed in the safe, but that was just the start. What unraveled was a tangled web of quiet money transfers between family accounts, redirected funds, and at least one more forged signature. I called a friend from college, a lawyer named Sarah who knows estate planning like nobody else. I didn't spill the whole story, just sent her the documents, organized like I was trying to explain something I couldn't yet feel. 2 days later she called back, her voice calm but sharp. "Claire, if you want to pursue fraud, you've got a case." But revenge wasn't what I wanted. I wanted clarity, then control. We started digging quietly, carefully. What came up was almost laughable in its irony. On paper, I was richer than I'd ever dreamed, not crazy rich, but enough to make my head spin. A house, a small investment account I didn't know existed, ties to a family holding used to shield Jenna's business ventures. The lake house was the real bombshell. Their pride and joy, their retreat, their legacy. It had been secretly mortgaged 3 years ago to fund Jenna's failed skincare line. They tried to fix it quietly, thinking Dad could pay it off before the bank came knocking. He couldn't. When I found the deed, the lake house was already set for foreclosure. Twist 1: the anonymous purchase. I didn't buy it directly, not as Claire Hart. I set up a shell company, used Sarah as a proxy, and bought it anonymously through a trust agent. It was legal, clean, untouchable. Weeks later, I held the deed in my hand. For the first time, I owned something they cherished. This wasn't about the house, it was about rewriting the story, breaking the cycle, showing them I'd seen their neglect and refused to swallow it anymore. They didn't know yet. Twist 2: Jenna's discovery. A month later, my phone buzzed with a call from Jenna, not her usual bubbly self, but nervous, her voice tight. "Claire, can we talk?" "In person." I agreed, curious but wary. We met at a coffee shop halfway between us, the kind with fairy lights and overpriced lattes. She looked different, less polished, her nails chipped, her eyes darting. "I found something," she said, sliding a folder across the table. Inside were bank statements, emails, and a contract, all tied to the family holding. Jenna had stumbled across them while cleaning out her apartment, tucked in a box of old files Mom had sent her. "I didn't know," she said, her voice breaking. "They used my name too." Turns out, Jenna wasn't the golden child she seemed. They'd been using her identity too, funneling money through accounts in her name to prop up their crumbling finances. The house key. It wasn't a gift, it was a distraction. A shiny prop to keep her from asking questions. For once, we weren't rivals. We were both pawns. "I thought they loved me," she whispered, tears smudging her mascara. I didn't hug her, not yet, but I felt the ground shift. We agreed to keep it quiet, to dig deeper together. She wasn't ready to confront them, but I was. New scene, the hidden letter. Before Christmas rolled around again, I went back to the my lake house to check it out. It was my first time there alone, and it felt strange, like stepping into a memory that wasn't mine. The place was beautiful but worn. Creaky floors, a smoky chimney, a thermostat that clicked 3 times before doing anything. As I wandered through the dusty rooms, I found an old desk in the attic, half buried under boxes. Inside a drawer, tucked beneath a stack of yellowed receipts, was a letter in Mom's handwriting, addressed to my girls. My heart stopped. I opened it, expecting an apology, an explanation, something to make sense of the mess. Instead, it was a confession. Written years ago, it detailed how Mom and Dad had started using our names to protect the family's wealth after a bad business deal left them scrambling. They'd planned to tell us eventually, but the deeper they got, the harder it was to come clean. The letter ended with a plea. "Please don't hate us." I sat there, the paper trembling in my hands, torn between rage and pity. They weren't masterminds, they were desperate, flawed, and too proud to admit it. I slipped the letter into my bag. It wasn't absolution, but it was leverage. Twist 3. The Stranger's Warning. A week before Christmas, I got an email from an anonymous address, short and cryptic. "Check the lake house basement. You're not the only one looking." My stomach dropped. Sarah and I had been careful, but someone else knew about the house. I drove up that night, flashlight in hand, and found the basement door locked, a new lock, one I hadn't seen before. I jimmied it open with a crowbar, heart pounding, and found a box of files hidden behind a stack of paint cans. They weren't family records. They were business contracts tied to a company I'd never heard of, with Dad's signature, and a second name, someone I didn't recognize, Victor Grayson. A quick search on my phone showed he was a local real estate investor, known for shady deals. Had Dad partnered with him to save the lake house? Or was Grayson the one pulling the strings? I took photos of everything and sent them to Sarah. "This is bigger than we thought," she said. "Grayson's got a reputation. If he's involved, there's more at stake than just your family." I didn't sleep that night. The lake house wasn't just a symbol anymore, it was a battleground. Christmas showdown, the big reveal. Christmas came again, and I was ready to drop the bomb. The house was the same wreath on the door, same chipped reindeer mugs, same fireplace drying out the air. Jenna was there, wrapped in new cashmere, but her usual sparkle was gone. She hugged herself like she was bracing for a storm. Dad stood by the mantel, coffee mug in hand, scanning the room like he was counting assets. Mom floated around, humming off-key carols, asking if the cinnamon rolls were done. I placed my gift under the tree, a plain white box, no bow, no tag. Just wait, I thought. We went through the motions. Jenna opened a designer bag and gasped, but it felt forced. Mom cried. Dad laughed. They toasted to new chapters and dream homes. I nodded, sipped my coffee, and waited. Then it was my turn. I handed Dad the box, gentle like it might shatter. He lifted it, surprised by its weightlessness, and gave a half smile, like he knew it wasn't important. Jenna muttered, "Probably socks." But her eyes flicked to mine, nervous. He opened it slowly, not because he cared, but because he didn't. Inside was a sealed envelope with a wax stamp. He hesitated, then broke the seal and pulled out the papers. His face stayed blank at first, just a slight squint. Then the color drained from him. He read the first page again, slower. The notarized deed. My name, the lake house. Then the second page, the forged signature. Sarah's legal warning. His hand shook just barely. Mom leaned over, still smiling, until her eyes hit the bolded words. Her smile vanished like breath on a mirror. "Claire, what is this?" she asked, her voice small. I met her gaze, steady. "It's exactly what it looks like." She blinked. Dad said nothing. Mom looked at the paper, then at him, her mouth opening, closing, opening again. "You didn't tell me," she said, her voice cracking, not loud, but like something snapping clean. Jenna clutched her bag, looking around, confused. Then came the fourth twist. Jenna spoke up, her voice shaky but clear. "I'm not either." She pulled out her own envelope, smaller, less dramatic, but just as heavy. Inside were copies of the bank statements she'd found, showing her name on transactions she never approved. Mom's face went white. Dad's jaw tightened. "What's going on?" Mom whispered, looking at Dad like he was a stranger. Jenna didn't back down. "You used me too," she said. "You used both of us." Twist 4. The uninvited guest. The room froze. But before anyone could respond, the doorbell rang, sharp and out of place. Mom flinched. Dad's head snapped up. I exchanged a glance with Jenna. "I'll get it," I said, moving slowly, my heart pounding. Standing at the door was a man in a tailored coat. His face hard but polished. Victor Grayson. "Merry Christmas, Claire," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "Mind if I join the party?" My stomach twisted. How did he know I'd be here? I let him in, not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. Grayson stepped into the living room, and the air shifted. Dad's face went gray. Mom stammered, "Who's this?" Grayson smiled, all teeth. "I'm the one who helped Douglas keep this family afloat. But it seems Claire's been doing some digging." He glanced at the papers in Dad's hands. "Smart girl." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want, Victor?" Grayson's smile didn't waver. "The lake house. You promised it to me if you couldn't pay up. Looks like you're out of time." The room exploded into chaos. Mom gasped, clutching Dad's arm. Jenna stood, her bag hitting the floor. I stayed calm, my hand in my pocket, gripping the letter from the attic. "Actually," I said, stepping forward, "the lake house is mine, legally. And I've got proof you were involved in fraud, Mr. Grayson." I held up my phone, showing the photos of the basement files. His smile faltered just for a second. New scene, the alliance. Grayson left, but not before promising to settle this later. The room was a mess of silence and shattered illusions. Mom was crying softly, Dad staring at the floor, Jenna trembling but standing tall. I pulled her aside. "We need to talk," I whispered. In the kitchen, I showed her the letter from the attic. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "They lied to us both," she said, her voice hard. "For the first time, we weren't just sisters, we were allies. We agreed to protect the lake house, not just for us, but to unravel the rest of Grayson's involvement." Sarah was already on it, pulling records to see how deep his ties ran with Dad. Twist 5, the hidden truth. A week later, Sarah called with news that turned my world upside down. Grayson wasn't just a shady investor, he was Dad's cousin, estranged for years after a falling out over the family business. The lake house? It was originally Grayson's, inherited from their grandfather, but Dad had borrowed it through a shady deal, using our names to cover his tracks. Grayson had been biding his time, waiting for Dad to slip up. My purchase of the lake house had thrown a wrench in his plan, but he wasn't done. Sarah found evidence of a second trust, one that tied Grayson to the family holding, and it was still active. Final scene, reclaiming the future. Jenna and I went back to the lake house together, our first time there as a team. It was different now, not just a house, but a symbol of everything we'd been denied. We sat on the creaky porch, the lake glittering under the winter sun, and made a plan. We'd sell the investment account, use the money to fix the house, and turn it into a retreat not for them but for us. A place to heal, to rebuild, to be sisters again. Grayson was still out there, and we knew he'd come back. But we were ready. With Sarah's help, we were building a case not just to protect the house, but to expose every lie, every forged signature, every secret they thought we'd never find. I didn't feel triumph, not exactly. It was more like freedom, like exhaling after years of holding my breath. I thought about calling a friend to share what we'd done, what we'd uncovered, what we'd taken back. But I didn't. Some stories don't need to be told to be real. They just need to be yours. And this one, it's mine, and now it's Jenna's too. We're writing the ending together, and nobody, not Dad, not Mom, not Grayson, gets to take that from us.